What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As we're getting close to the tail end of the season, I know you guys have seen a lot of my snowmobiles in the videos that we've done throughout the year, including this one, which we actually carried over even from last year, but we thought it was the perfect time to kind of go over the builds of the season. So let's get into them. Okay, so every year, one of the highlights of the season, along with clinics, along with the channel, along with riding, is getting to build the snowmobiles. And we do a lot of snowmobiles where they're basically mountain stock. So they've got a pipe, some clutching, maybe a half wrap, something like that. So it's really fun when we get to kind of go all out. And so behind me, I've got the 3 sleds that we really put a ton of time into. And I know you're seeing this one that we named Popeye from this last year. And the reason for it is, man, you had to have some forearms to hang on to such a wild snowmobile. And we'll kind of dive into what that sled is here in a second. The sled that's right behind me, this is a Polaris 2023 Polaris 9R that I've named Pretty Boy Floyd. You guys that have known me for a while and know that everything that I own is basically black or just a very toned down version. There's no real loud colors of much of anything. So I certainly let my snowmobiles be, well, if this doesn't look like a belt buckle, I don't know what else would, but we've named it Pretty Boy Floyd. Lots of details with this snowmobile, and it's become a really fun one. And the sled right here to my right is called Blizzard of Oz, 165 Chaos Boost. A lot of Bikeman performance stuff, a slew of other companies, obviously, with each one of these things that have made them the builds that they are. All right, we'll start with the mean snowmobile of the group with Popeye here, and you guys will recognize this. This is a 2022 Chaos Boost. This is a 155, but new for the season, carrying it over from last year, is just a stock boost with some Bikeman performance, but we right towards the fall of the season, decided to put a 900 big bore from Bikeman into the boost. And so this thing runs on straight 100 low lead. It's an expensive snowmobile to drive each day, but the fun factor is through the ceiling. It is a 155 3-inch, and it's also a Chaos. So we'll start at the front. You can tell that I've got the Ice Age Elevate spindles. The spindles are on each one of the builds. I love the spindles. I do feel like that it puts the sled up and out of the snow, and if the objective is to have some front end lift, well, we're doing nothing but helping that out. Plus, I love the look, the strength, everything about that Ice Age front end is awesome. Combine that with, you've got Ice Age rails in the back, and we'll show videos or shots of that, and then with the air shocks. Been a big fan. You guys have seen plenty of videos, me talking about air suspension. Really do like the Chris Brandt valving in these QS3s, and love the adjustability as well. So kept those, and across the board, when you're building snowmobiles that are kind of designed around the look, the feel, the style of riding, and even just the trust of it, it's nice that I'm building most of these things with very similar products. And so the Ice Age stuff combined with the Fox, we keep the stock Gripper 2 skis on there. Yeah, and just we'll just keep that for what it is. New for the season is the new Pro Armor Next Level front and rear bumpers. You guys know that they look a bit like the Skins bumpers, know that relationship is absolutely awesome, and that we are making strides towards making some product that is uniquely different. You'll see that from the rear bumpers, and we're gonna just continue to push forward that. We're so super excited to be working with Pro Armor this year and hope for many years to come. The Arctic FX wraps. So the wraps are always what sort of put that signature to it. This is the Adams inversion wrap. A lot of people think that it's a camo design when it's actually sort of a right over the top topographical look of like the Wasatch Mountains. So it's a really unique thing once it's all laid out on the flat, but it kind of does come off camo. But have really liked this wrap, and easily one of my favorites from the last, 12, 13 years of working with Arctic FX. The helium hoods, another Skins product that I absolutely love. On these sleds is shaving anywhere from 6 to 8 pounds, depending on the gauge that you're using. So it's another lightweight feature, and reason why we're building these things is to add power, take away weight, and you're just closing the gap between power and weight. And not to mention they look really, really cool. And there's some functional storage between the storage down here, and then you still have this storage behind the gauge. We've talked about the helium hoods before, and the idea that we've changed the angle of the gauge as a stand-up rider, especially with handlebar bags and things in the way. It's awfully nice with the helium that I can still get a really good view of the 7S or the standard gauge. So as we move back on that, and we'll get into the internals here in a second, but we'll just talk about the exterior of the snowmobile. You know that I'm and have been using the Skins product for a long time. This is the Skins Next Level Pac-Man handlebar pack. Quite easily the most successful pack that we have ever made. I like the design, I love the quick release part of it, and we have, through the Next Level shop, sold a ton of these and have a lot of really happy customers using the packs to carry, well, all sorts of essentials right there at your handlebars. The MVM throttle block. So use this, or started using some of this last season. We have struggled with throttle issues. I kind of made a note of that in my last video, and I would tell you that this is definitely a step in the right direction, and really like the look of it. It's strong, and we are preventing ice from building up in that seam right there. So any kind of issues that we've been having right there, we're attempting to eliminate that using that MVM throttle block. On the other side, we've got the ZRP brake lever, which is an awesome brake lever. You've seen that I put it on all my builds, and then just out of protection, been using this ZRP brake reservoir cover. Haven't had any issues with them, and love the fact that I've got some added strength as well as some look. Anodizing versus powder coating, it's never gonna be perfect unless, of course, you always went with black, but sometimes the offset just makes the build look that much cooler, adds character. All right, so moving back on the snowmobile, new for this season for me is the Seatco seat covers. You guys get from the Axis days when we had the ability to do some lightweight tanks, some things through Skins. I know Chris Brandt's still doing something with like the 9-gallon tank on a Matrix build, but we've kind of lost the ability to do that. Fuel systems are a little bit different, and nobody's really going after putting lightweight seat and tanks on these snowmobiles. So I was kind of bored, and Seatco coming along and adding some flavor to the stock seat. You'll take that Polaris cover off and go ahead and reinstall this, and you'll see that from the rest of my builds. Just a fun way, again, to just accent the colorway and do something unique to the snowmobile. So the Seatco seat cover, I would tell you that the material, for those that have been using it, it's pretty awesome that there's some grip to the material, unlike the stock one, which can be oftentimes pretty slippery. It's pretty sweet knowing that you've got some grip right there, and you end up utilizing that. So it's not just a style thing. I think there is some function to it. So down below on the footboards, I did go with the Billet ZRP stirrups, and I just think that it's a great look, and obviously adding some strength there. Moving towards the back, I've got my crossover tunnel bag from Skins. I like these smaller bags, especially on the shorter tunnel snowmobiles. Can carry all my essentials, tools, first aid kit, extra gloves, blah, blah, blah. You guys have seen tons of those. What is new about the new Next Level Skins bag is some adjustable straps and then the buckles on all 4 corners, meaning that the lid of this actually makes a really cool, like, tool caddy if you were working on clutching or something anywhere else on the snowmobile, that you can flip this over, and now you got a spot to, you know, stash your tools or any spare parts, things like that, which is kind of nice. And then the Next Level Pro Armor rear bumper kind of rounds out the top section of the snowmobile. Very unique design. I would tell you that I had one of my builds this year where I wheelied over backwards in hard snow, like easily went to like 1230, and thought for sure, well, there it goes. I'm going to be one of those guys that, you know, messed up the back end of my snowmobile. And I would tell you that the added strength of the rear bumper prevented it. I sat it back down, looked back, kind of thinking the worst, and everything was 100% fine. So adding some style, adding some rigidity to the back of the Matrix / snowmobiles, whether it was a 55, 65, or even 46. We've got them for the short sleds too. Really like that we've done that. And a little detail that maybe doesn't matter to you, matters big time to me, is that I went with a nut and bolt versus a rivet package to mount these bumpers. So everything is removable because of a nut and bolt, and you're not having to drill out rivets to remove the bumper if you needed to. All right, so down below, not unlike you know, the trust that I have with the Ice Age product, and I would tell you guys that I've not had too many issues with the stock rails. Got to give Polaris some credit here, but I definitely like the strength, and then easily like the look of the Ice Age classic rail here. And so that's why you'll see these on each one of the builds. Yeah, just really like the look. Obviously, it's chaos profile. Combine that with the air shocks, combine that with the Hellfire wheels, and you really do start to create some pretty unique things. I mean, it's no different from wheels and tires and things like that on a vehicle. It really does change the appearance of them. And then you guys will also notice the Ibex scratchers. Had great luck with the scratcher. It's fantastic going into next season that we know that Polaris is coming out with a reversible scratcher, which I would tell you from experience is working really, really well. But I'd tell you that the Ibex scratchers for the last year or two have worked really, really well as a reversible scratcher as well. All right, so moving into the internals of the builds, where the fun is. This particular sled, as I said, this is a 2022 155 3-inch Chaos Boost. But what we did that was so unique to it, and why I've carried it over from last season, is we put a 900 big bore in there. So all of Bikeman's, I would say, performance, all of their know-how, and then having Jared Sessions of Bikeman do, well, I would say all of the internal work to these builds. The thing is just absolutely perfect. It's crazy to me that the base of the 850 and then creating rep from there, and you'd hear that from Polaris that they built that 850 motor with the robust crank and just some of the things that they did with the idea that they were going to boost that snowmobile. Well, we've taken it a step further by going with a 900 big bore. So it's changed the compression. It's certainly made it to where I do have to run the straight 100 low lead, as I was telling you, but the thing is just a pure symphony. It's just absolutely awesome. Builds so much track speed, so much power, and in a 55, I had someone once tell me that a 55 boost was about like a water moccasin in terms of going up the hill. And I would tell you that this sled, for any and all things in terms of gymnastics on the hillside, holy smokes, do you have so much power at your fingertips. And being chaos profile with a somewhat short track for the kind of power that it has is a pretty unbelievable ride, and certainly one that you definitely got to hang on to it. So it's why we called it Popeye. But inside, you can see that we've got the Cyclone cover from Bikeman, obviously all of Bikeman's sniper weights, a unique clutch package because of the big bore, and we don't have to dive into those particularly, although you guys can comment on the page if you are looking for specifics, and I'll try to answer all that as best I can. You can kind of peek in there, and you'll see from some of the videos we'll get that you can tell the craftsmanship of the head that they used here from Bikeman. And so going through the engine bay here, there's some neat stuff to look at there, and then we'll jump onto the other side and look at so you can see over here, and you guys know that hot food is important to me no matter what. And for now, this is kind of how we installed the cooker, but they've got their stainless steel lightweight muffler, and just the way they've connected to the Polaris factory between the turbo and the wastegate and everything else. A very clean setup and has proven to work really, really well. So beyond the tuning that's in this, because this isn't just stock tuning, right? So we've got a tune that is unique to the 900 big bore. And all I would tell you about all of it is you've got somebody, you've got a team of people, honestly, that are putting in the time so that as you pull the rope on this thing, you're not struggling out there. It's so awesome to have something that's not throwing codes, it's not overheating, it's not doing all of these things that are, I would say that as you start to build these super mods, that you're always dealing with. And this thing is still very much so a pull the rope and go snowmobile. So kudos and hats off to Bikeman and to Jared for all their expertise in putting these things together. I've also got the ZRP rotor. I put that on all the builds as well. With the brake issues that we've been having, I would tell you that that's not only like helping things out in that respect. As a backcountry rider, we are definitely using our brakes, and so having the lightweight slotted rotor is just one more thing that we can add to the builds. All right, so moving on to pretty boy Floyd here. I can't help but kind of crack up as I call these things what I call them. And it doesn't always come from me. Sometimes my wife helps, sometimes other riders jump in and see these things and help me with names, and it's always fun. Nevertheless, I've left the wrap off of the helium hood. I actually really like the matte color on this snowmobile. And you guys, we've kind of gone over this sled, and you'll look down and you'll see from all the other shots that very similar in terms of the builds, going from a Boost though to a 9R. And it's kind of a 9R on steroids, meaning cyclone clutch cover, full Bikeman sniper weights, unique clutch kit to the snowmobile. And then this one is also supporting the Bikeman head. So we've added some mid-range with that head. And then with doing that, we've also tuned the snowmobile. So this has the Bikeman pipe. So it's a lightweight exhaust pipe, as well as a lightweight muffler. And so when we step around, we'll see all of those shots. But on this side, primary and secondary, for those that needed to know, I'm running a 60-42 Helix. There'll be a lot of other particulars that you guys within the comments, if you're really needing to know exact details of this clutching setup, we can definitely get into that. But for now, we're just kind of showcasing what it is. So moving over here, very similar setups, guys, in terms of the front end. You guys are seeing the Fox shocks. You'll see from all the shots, we've got the Ice Age Elevate spindles. This one was really unique to Ice Age. It's kind of one of the first setups they ever did where they Cerakoted to kind of get this military color that I was after, which turned out really, really well. Inside, you guys will see shots again of the Bikeman pipe and then the Munchie exhaust. I tell you that it's a bit on the loud side, but the combination of pipe, we'll start over, combination of head, pipe, lightweight muffler, the tuning, and the clutching. This 9R is incredibly responsive. It's so much dang fun to ride, and has become like the lightweight weapon. I mean, there's no secret that when we boost a snowmobile, no matter how much power we have on those, we've still put 20-something pounds onto the snowmobile. And when you don't have that, and then you have the exact opposite of that and something very lightweight, the maneuverability, the ease on your body, and then the get up on top of the snow that this snowmobile has, maybe as an edge over some of these others, where these others will get you and they still get you from A to B really quickly, is they've got all kinds of track speed because of that added boost power. So lightweight exhaust here, so cool and unique that Bikeman kind of came up with their own hot pot, which is just a pin and pulls off of there. Used that a couple of times this year and it was actually really, really cool. And then again, guys, the ZRP lightweight rotor kind of rounds out the internals of this. There's so much sort of magic that's going on that's actually not visual. We can't see what's actually happening inside the motors, but a lot going on in each one of these, making them the mods for the season. Something that's unique about this sled beyond the wrap and some of the custom colored front and rear parts here is like, I've got this billet. I mean, everything about this thing was just so belt buckled to me. So why wouldn't I have a billet Bikeman pull start on there, which I think just adds a little bit more flavor to Pretty Boy Floyd. All right, so not to sound like a broken record here, but a lot of the same characteristics. All right, so we went from an aspirated 9R back into a boosted sled. Difference being here is a 165 275 versus my other boost as a 155 3-inch. A lot of fun to have a bunch of power and then have a little bit longer track to support it. So in the deep, deep snow, this was certainly the weapon of choice. So inside here, again, primary and secondary clutching. Not a whole lot to look on this side. We didn't put a head on this. We just basically put a tune and then put that stainless steel muffler on here so we can step across here. And again, not unlike the 55 Chaos, we've got the same dang setup. If it's not broke, why fix it? So very similar process here with the lightweight rotor. We've got the muff pot on there, the stainless lightweight muffler, and then again, the tuning that's in this. And you guys have heard of the Stage 2 Bikeman tuning, so a 20 horse tune. I would tell you that, you know, we run straight 100 low lead in the 900 big bore boost, and then in both the 9R as well as this one, I run a couple of gallons of 100 low lead. And the reason being for a lot of that, guys, is remember that, you know, guys, they clutch and they tune to octane versus elevation. But in Alpine, where I ride out of, you know that that's kind of below that 6,000 foot sort of threshold. And so because I ride there and it takes a bit for us to get down our trail systems and into elevation, having just that couple of gallons of 100 low lead, it kind of brings octane up to a real comfortable spot, and it'll keep us off the det light. It keeps the motors happy is maybe the best way to say that. So a relatively inexpensive way for those of you guys that are thinking about these types of kits and are gonna ride at low elevation, just know that a little bit of that 100 low lead will help bring octane up if we're all assuming 91 non-ethanol fuel is truly the fuel or the octane that we think it is. It was really nice knowing that just a few gallons here and there definitely made the performance of these things what it needed to be. So again, a tune into this thing, the 7S display, really, really unique snowmobile. And like I told you before, the chaos and maybe something that's unique to this sled specifically is actually drilling and using that low hole here, which is kind of a recommendation of Ice Age if you are going to use the Elevate spindle and even have the chaos profile rear suspension or rear rail, is dropping our front control arm down into that hole that you'll see on a tunnel is provided. You've got to drill it out. But I would tell you that that change made this thing, it gave this thing that much more front end lift. And with boosted power and with all of the things that I enjoy about snowmobiling, it was pretty awesome to see that just that one change right there to the bolt really just set the sled a little bit different from any other type of a snowmobile or any other chaos, and combine that with the Elevate spindle, and it certainly made a pretty decent difference in terms of front end lift. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for joining me and just going through these things. I think that there's a fair amount of gearheads that are out there that truly do love seeing like the time, the dedication, the energy that it takes to put these things together. Because of what we're dealing with sleds and parts and just things just not showing up obviously when we all would like them to, the videos put out, we're towards the tail end of our season. And there is no secret that, I get a ton of this stuff built like nearly towards the tail end of the season, but have been fortunate enough to get most of this stuff done. And throughout the season, it's been somewhat of a journey of deciding what horsepower or what performance modifications we're making that truly do make an under your seat or under your feet difference. And I think that the three of these sleds kind of speak for themselves in terms of what we've really started to define as what a mod sled is, or what a sled is that, truly is overstock. And ends up being a lot of fun. It ends up being very confidence inspiring to me to get on snowmobiles that I can tell were sort of set up for me. And so it's the reason why I like talking about them and just going through each one of them. You'll see from some shots just some of the internals and just a lot of the unique features to the builds. And I really appreciate you guys following along. So we've got a 900 big bore boost. We've got a built 9R as well as a 165 Bikeman tuned boost as well. So lots of questions, lots of comments about it, and bring them on. Be happy to to answer as much of that stuff in terms of the specifics to clutching and things like that as we can. Hope you guys like the video. Remember to subscribe to this. We're getting towards the tail end of our season, and that's 100% okay. What I'd like you guys to understand is that by design, we wanted to build a series of videos that were a lot of how-tos, a lot of things about how to do the specifics to what it is that we're doing out there riding. So whether it was downhill turns, uphill turns, the downhill 180, all of the tricks, trying to get into hopovers and bow ties and re-entries. And there's a lot of that stuff out there that I think that is a very helpful resource to you. So Next Level in the channel that it is has started and will remain a resource to you guys. But I'd like you guys to know that going into this next season, we are going to do some riding. We are going to showcase just some fun. And what will be unique to some of those videos will be that when we do get asked, hey, what was that move or what did it look like, we'll be able to have links in that description below that can go to a video that specifically breaks down each one of those techniques. So hopefully that's on the right path and you guys like that. If you do, certainly let us know, and we'll see you guys next time.